Angi Gonzalez with the New York 1 Minute. Early voting continues today in a special election to fill Rory Lansman's city council seat. This is the first time that ranked choice voting is being used in the city. Ballots can be cast through January 31st. Governor Cuomo delivers remarks to several largely black churches across the state, emphasizing the importance and safety of the coronavirus vaccine in the hopes of boosting confidence among community members. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer wants the Senate to pass several measures in the next 3 weeks, including the second impeachment of former President Donald Trump, a comprehensive COVID relief package, and approval of all President Biden's cabinet nominees. Protesters hit the streets of Foley Square in Manhattan, calling on officials to halt the deportation of a man from Honduras scheduled to be deported tomorrow. And a virtual fundraiser will be held at 7 tonight to save the legendary Birdland Jazz Club. Time now for a quick look at the forecast. Sunny and cold conditions are expected for the city. Highs are going to be in the upper 30s with winds out of the northwest. As for tonight, we're going to remain dry and cold. Winds are going to slowly weaken, but lows are going to drop into the mid-20s. For the day on Monday, we're going to see more clouds than sun, especially for later in the day. Highs are going to remain in the upper 30s. The rest of the week remains cold, and we could see a round of light snow for Tuesday with some light accumulations. As for now, the rest of the week looks pretty dry. Your next weather check comes in just 10 minutes. A man is seriously injured in a hit and run in Manhattan while getting out of his car at a traffic light, and now police are investigating. Authorities say around 9 p.m. on Saturday night, a driver was stopped at a red light on West 93rd Street and Columbus Avenue on the Upper West Side when he got out of his car to get something in the trunk. Now that's when a BMW struck him from behind and fled. The man is in critical but stable condition at St. Luke's Hospital. No arrests have been made. A New York City teacher is under arrest after traveling all the way to Tampa, Florida in an alleged attempt to have sex with a minor that he met online. Authorities say that 31-year-old Zishan Nakvi picked up the victim at their Tampa residence on Saturday at around 1:30 in the morning and then brought them back to his hotel room. They say he then dropped the victim back off at their residence a few hours later. Around 1 p.m., the police say that once again he picked up the victim and brought them back to his hotel room where they did engage in sexual acts. Police say that he was arrested at the Tampa-based hotel and admitted that he knew the victim was a minor. He's charged with 7 counts of unlawful sexual activity with a minor and other related charges. We have reached out to the city's Department of Education for comment, but we have yet to hear back. The NYPD is looking for 4 people who they say stole one of their vehicles last week in the Bronx and then stripped the car of its parts. Now, the department released this surveillance video showing 3 of those individuals, 2 men and 1 woman. Investigators say that just after 8:30 on Tuesday night, they allegedly broke in and stole an unmarked police vehicle that was parked on East 167th Street and Fox Street in Longwood. They then allegedly drove to a parking lot on Boone Street in Crotona Park. If you have any information, you're asked to call the Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-577-8477. A police officer is suing the NYPD, accusing the Department of Racism and Discrimination from Within. Officer Halen Oliveras filed a claim last month. He says that when he joined the department's K-9 unit over a year ago, that his superiors would harass him, make racist comments, and make fun of his accent, often in front of others. He says when he filed a complaint that the harassment actually got worse, leading to even more mistreatment and assignments that did not correspond with his credentials. He was later removed from his desired position in the K-9 unit.
It's not acceptable that a supervisor with the rank of sergeant that is supposed to oversee and supervise and be professional makes this type of comments or allegations against a police officer. You don't deserve that. Doesn't matter what background, what ethnic background, whatever. But this is also supported by the higher ups. If the inspector basically telling him that he doesn't like me and that he wants to go after me, guess what the supervisor is going to do? And this is what I've been dealing with.
Now, with this lawsuit, Halen hopes to be restored to his former position and to be rewarded money lost from being expelled from that position. His attorney told us that he is optimistic that justice will be served. We have reached out to the department for comment, but have not yet heard back. New York Special Ops Harbor Patrol rescues a dog from the chilly waters of Jamaica Bay. A shepherd mix named Georgia escaped from her new owners while on a walk on Wednesday. The owners actually posted photos to Facebook saying that they had lost their dog. Well, later that day, they saw what they thought was a seal struggling to stay afloat in Jamaica Bay. So they flagged down the New York Special Ops Harbor Patrol, who sprung into action and rescued Georgia. The family adopted her 5 days before this chilling incident occurred. Public advocate Jumaane Williams holds a virtual event calling for more security and safety provisions for those who live in NYCHA public housing. Williams made the call following the death of Eleanor Dower, a woman who died after falling in a stairwell at the Webster houses, despite multiple requests to get the elevator at the building fixed. Williams also stressed the importance of more security measures following the murders of 3 elderly women at the same NYCHA housing complex, the Woodson houses in Brooklyn. All are believed to have been murdered by the same man. Now, Williams was joined by other city officials who say that underfunded and mismanaged housing, as well as the mounting infrastructure problems within NYCHA, puts residents in danger.
Do they treat residents in any other development where so much money, so much revenue is generated from those same individuals? No, they don't. But they treat residents of public housing just because of what they look like poorly.
Every step of the way, we see neglect, we see lies, and we see apparently people who don't give a damn about the people who live in NYCHA. And people are literally dying because of it.
Community groups and residents rallied together in Manhattan on Saturday night, demanding an end to violence against women. Now, this comes after a 31-year-old woman was brutally assaulted when she left a Harlem liquor store on 128th Street and St. Nicholas Avenue last Monday. The woman says 2 men kicked her and then another bit her and stole her iPhone. Police say that she and 2 of the men were inside the liquor store before the altercation, but it's not clear exactly what led up to the assault. Outside that same store yesterday, ralliers called on state lawmakers to stiffen penalties for men convicted of assaulting women and the elderly. Family members of a city resident set to be deported tomorrow rally alongside activists in Foley Square calling for his extradition to be canceled. 27-year-old Javier Castillo Maradiaga came to the U.S. from Honduras when he was just 7 years old. He's currently at a detention center in Louisiana, one of a group of undocumented immigrants set to be deported at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. This despite President Biden signing an executive order halting most deportations for 100 days for those who arrived in the U.S. prior to November of 2020. Maradiaga's sister called for the immigrant community to work together to fight against immigration authorities.
I'm a dreamer. This is my dream. I have a daughter that is a U.S. citizen. I don't think that we came to this country to do anything bad. My brother Javier, he was stopped and frisked. That's illegal. We have to stop feeding the police. NYPD is feeding ICE.
Now, ICE claims that Maradiaga is not protected under Biden's new order, which is already facing a federal lawsuit from the state of Texas. Congressman Richie Torres sends a letter to ICE to halt the deportation of Javier Castillo Maradiaga. Now, Torres posted a letter on Twitter. In it, he claims that Maradiaga is protected not only under DACA, but also under President Biden's 100-day moratorium on deportations. Richie calls the act illegal and calls for it to be stopped. The White House continues to roll back Trump administration initiatives regarding the census. Now, part of an order that President Biden signed last week means that the U.S. Census Bureau is now going to stop efforts to compile neighborhood-level statistics on citizenship status of residents. Biden also revoked 2 other Trump directives, one that attempted to determine the citizenship status of every resident through administrative records, and another that would exclude those in the U.S. illegally from the census count. The previous administration made several attempts to gather citizenship data through the census, including the addition of a citizenship question, which the Supreme Court invalidated. The comments of several Trump supporters who participated in the Capitol breach could be used against the former president in his upcoming impeachment trial. Several supporters now facing federal charges have suggested that they were taking orders from Trump when they marched to the Capitol to challenge President Biden's win. Opening arguments in the former president's second impeachment trial are set to begin the week of February 8th. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is expected to deliver the article of impeachment to the Senate tomorrow. Trump faces the charge of inciting a violent insurrection. A Texas man is charged in connection with storming the U.S. Capitol on January 6th and for posting several violent messages on social media, including tweets threatening to kill New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, court documents say that 34-year-old Garrett Miller called for violence in several online posts. One of his alleged tweets said, quote, "Assassinate AOC," end quote. And Miller also posted to Instagram an exchange where he threatened a Capitol police officer. According to the FBI, Miller also posted videos and pictures showing him inside the Capitol during the January 6th riot. Miller's attorney told the Associated Press that his client regrets the actions he took in, quote, "a misguided effort to show his support for former President Donald Trump," end quote. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says that the Senate has 3 essential items that it needs to accomplish over the next 3 weeks. They include the second impeachment and trial of former President Donald Trump, a comprehensive COVID relief aid package, and approving President Joe Biden's cabinet nominations.
During that period, the Senate is able to do other things, and the 2 biggest things we will do are approve a number of the president's key appointments and advance the COVID relief bill in a bold and strong way that helps New York and helps the country.
Schumer says that the stakes are just too high for these items to be delayed. The New York Democrat also says that he spoke with the head of Biden's COVID response team, urging the federal government to distribute more vaccine supply to the state of New York. Schumer says that he's confident the Biden administration will help with the current vaccine supply crisis. The House of Representatives will present the Senate with an article of impeachment against former President Donald Trump tomorrow, with the trial set to begin February 9th. But some Republicans still oppose the idea of convicting Trump after he's left office.
The preponderance of the legal opinion is that a impeachment trial after someone has left office is constitutional. I believe that's the case. These allegations are very serious. They haven't been defended yet by the president. He deserves a chance to have that heard. But, you know, I think it's important for us to go through the normal justice process and for there to be resolution.
Some people would like us to turn the page. Oh, let's move on. I think that President Biden, the night before he was sworn in, laid down the predicate. He said, to heal, we must remember.
The first chance I get to vote to end this trial, I'll do it, because I think it's really bad for America. If you want to hold people accountable, there's other ways to do it.
I thoroughly believe that we can handle this impeachment trial and, just as the American people are doing, juggle what we need to get done. I think we're going to get more and more evidence over the next few weeks, as if it's not enough that he sent an angry mob down the mall to invade the Capitol.
There are also calls to censure or even expel some Republican senators, including Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, who have supported efforts to overturn the election, although later condemned the riots. Romney said that history and voters will judge them, but the Senate should not take action. The Washington Monument is going to remain closed indefinitely to protect the staff and visitors against the spread of COVID-19. The monument closed on January 11th as part of the security measures surrounding the inauguration. The National Park Service says it's going to be keeping an eye on public health conditions in Washington, D.C. to determine whether or not it's going to be safe to reopen. All other indoor attractions managed as part of the National Mall and Memorial Parks have also been closed. We're going to take a break, but we're going to have all the latest on today's top stories in just a few minutes, so don't go away. Early voting continues today in a special election to fill the city council seat of Rory Landsman in Queens. The council district 24 race features 8 candidates, and for the first time, ranked choice voting is being used here in the city. Voters are going to be ranking the candidates by preference on their ballots. If no candidate gets a majority, the lowest performer is eliminated and their votes redistributed. The process continues until someone surpasses 50%. You can rank up to 5 candidates, or you can still vote for just one if you prefer. Early voting continues through January 31st. Election day is February 2nd. Rory Landsman stepped down last year to take a job with the Cuomo administration. A virtual fundraiser hopes to save Birdland Jazz Club, the iconic music venue that has played host to not only great jazz players, but the best of Broadway as well. According to the owner, since the club closed in mid-March, he's been paying a small staff out of pocket with no paychecks coming in for himself. In the fall, he spent $20,000 to prepare the club to reopen for a socially distanced experience that barely lasted a week. Now a GoFundMe page that was started by an off-Broadway theater producer has raised around $280,000 to keep Birdland alive. As for tonight's star-studded performance benefit, dozens of Broadway legends are going to be participating.
New York City, it isn't New York City without Birdland.
As long as it's my club and I'm the owner here, I will do everything to keep it alive. Birdland will never close on my watch.
Also featured in the benefit, Leslie Odom Jr., Whoopi Goldberg, and Audra McDonald, plus an appearance from former President Bill Clinton. The event starts at 7. To check it out and get more information, just head to savebirdland.com. Say that there's record participation this year with nearly 600 restaurants on the roster. Their previous record was less than 400. All participating restaurants are going to offer at least one takeout or delivery meal for $20.21. The full list of participating restaurants is going to be posted online on Monday on the link on your screen. There's a continued push to get New Yorkers vaccinated even as supplies are running low. While some city-run vaccination sites have canceled appointments or even closed early, we're told that all of the state-run locations have been able to remain open. There is also a discrepancy in the number of doses that New York has received, as the state says that the 1.1 million doses it's administered so far represents 92% of its supply. But the CDC says that the state was given more than 2.3 million doses. Governor Cuomo said yesterday it's a week-to-week situation, but he's still urging people to get the vaccine and says that it's safe. Here in the city, data shows 600,000 residents have been vaccinated, including 83,000 who've received both doses and are now fully inoculated. Governor Cuomo delivers pre-recorded messages to several largely black churches across the state, including Bethany Baptist Church in Brooklyn. He emphasized the importance and safety of the coronavirus vaccine and discussed the outsized impact that the pandemic has had on people of color.
We now have a vaccine that can save lives, but it will only save lives if we take it. While the vaccine is still scarce across the country, I am working night and day to get it here for you. I will fight to deliver it, and we will deliver it through churches and community groups and public housing in many different ways to make sure it is accessible to the hard-hit communities of color.
Cuomo said again that the pandemic shines a light on the inequalities that already existed among low-income and minority communities, particularly when it comes to health care. Let's take a look now at how the coronavirus is affecting the rest of the country, as the U.S. has now surpassed 25 million cases. That's according to data from Johns Hopkins University, who also finds that there are more than 400,000 people More than 417,000, in fact, that have died from COVID-19. The university recorded the first case in the U.S. on January 21st of 2020. And a grim forecast from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington, which projects more than 569,000 COVID-19 deaths by May the 1st, while another model from the Institute forecasts that by the same time, nearly 43,000 lives will have been saved by the COVID-19 vaccine, with 157 million people expected to be fully vaccinated by that point. Now, researchers also say with the current number of hospitalizations, the pandemic may be at its peak. Turning now to how the coronavirus is affecting the rest of the world. The UK is expanding its vaccination efforts, aiming to give the first shots to 15 million people, including everyone over the age of 70 by mid-February. The country's goal is to inoculate its entire population by September of this year. Britain has authorized the use of 3 vaccines and plans to open 30 new vaccination locations just this week. That includes a former IKEA store and its Museum of Industrial History. Officials say that 3/4 of people over the age of 80 have received a shot, as well as 3/4 of nursing home residents. It's a vaccination campaign that is a rare success considering it's experiencing Europe's worst outbreak. Meanwhile, France may impose a third lockdown, that is, if its 12-hour-a-day curfew does not significantly slow infections. Hospitalizations and deaths in the country have started to rise again this month. Officials say that all options are on the table, but no further decisions will be made until it is clear whether or not the curfew is actually working. Restaurants, tourist sites, and many other public places have already been closed since October. Starting today, all travelers entering the country from other European Union countries will be required to show a negative COVID-19 test before entering the country. And the Netherlands has imposed a nightly curfew. It started last night and was implemented in the hopes of reducing social interaction among residents. The curfew applies to people of all ages and requires residents be home between the times of 9 p.m. and 4:20 a.m. Those who are out during that time frame must have a written and signed letter which certifies that leaving their home was necessary. The Netherlands has recorded nearly 1 million infections and 13,000 deaths since the beginning of the outbreak. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is pushing for a new U.S. trade deal under the Biden administration. He made that clear during a call with the new president yesterday. They also touched on the global response to the pandemic, as well as the Biden administration's decision to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. In a statement from the White House, there was no mention of a timeline for that possible trade deal. It reiterated that Biden's main focus is getting the pandemic under control. However, Downing Street spokespeople say that this trade deal is a priority for Johnson, particularly now that the post-Brexit transition phase has wrapped. That does it for today's top stories. Thanks so much for tuning in to New York One. Up next is Dean Meminger with more headlines. We'll be back right after the break.